This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
We are professional cartoonists, and we are Legion of Superheroes experts.
So today we are looking at Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes number 216, the first appearance of Tyroc. It has an April 76 cover date, but it was published on January 22nd, 1976. Less than a month before my father was born. Well, not me.
No, you should do that. Go with your father.
Because I'm 25. It's a double feature. You have two stories: The Hero Who Hated the Legion and 1 + 1 = 3. Both are written by Cary Bates, penciled and inked by Mike Grell, edited by Murray Boltinoff, with assistance from Jack Harris. I'm not sure what that means exactly, how he assisted.
He wrote the letters page.
Okay. And there's no letter mentioned, so I wonder if that means Mike Grell lettered it.
I don't know. I don't know that Mike Grell ever edited or ever lettered stuff. Maybe he did.
I don't know. I tried looking it up. I nowhere mentioned a letter.
I was noticing how in the little signature box here where it says Cary Bates and Mike Grell, it does kind of look like Mike Grell probably lettered that. Maybe he did do the whole issue. Because he always has that, like his cartoonist signature in the art credits box. And then Cary Bates has kind of a special looking signature.
Yep.
And I don't imagine that's Cary Bates' actual signature,
Right.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe Grell did it.
He's still with us, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's not with us.
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's Neil Adams who died.
That's right.
Not the poor man's Neil Adams, Mike Grell.
Yeah.
I've started to appreciate Mike Grell more than I used to. I never really liked his artwork at first.
I always thought you were like a Mike Grell stan, no?
There's something about when I first was seeing his Legion comics that I didn't like it at all. They looked really like the figures are all kind of elongated and stretched in my memory and looked a little weird, like they always stood with their legs like 10 feet apart somehow and just looked really strange. But I don't know, as I'm going and I'm like looking at like the DC, like the showcase, the black and white reprint books and stuff, or looking at the original art, and I'm like, this guy's good. These are good looking comic books. The stories are generally so-so to terrible, nothing spectacular, but his drawings are good, especially if you see the remastered version of the artwork, or like it's not done justice by the newsprint printing usually, even though it's not too bad in these.
I've grown to like him too. I used to associate him so closely with like Warlord, and I don't love like fantasy-ish comics. And I felt like a lot of that sensibility was added here, in that everyone's bare-chested and scantily clad, and girls look like Vampirella, which I don't love. But I've seen good, like, I remember the Longbow Hunters, which he did later, and maybe it was painted or something. It looked really nice.
Yeah, he was doing, at least the covers of Longbow Hunters was painted. I don't know if the whole thing was or not. Yeah, he started doing something different. Like he was using like, I don't know, this kind of crusty, chalky looking line on his stuff somehow. Like even in that Image comic he did.
Didn't even know he did an Image comic.
Oh yeah, he was like one of maybe the second wave of Image guys, and then they canceled it, and then he published it himself for a little while and then went back to Image, I think is how it worked out. But it's called Shaman's Tears. It's about a Native American guy, I think, is the hero.
I think that character had been around, like he'd done that before Image. Maybe he continued it in Image.
That could be. I know it was at Image for a few issues and then went away and then came back again out of the blue. It was like Mike Grell and Tribe by Larry Stroman and Trencher. Like those are, they kind of came in at the Max, maybe. I don't know if the Max was one of the original ones.
The wave of creators who weren't...
Yeah, they weren't the first 5 guys or 4 guys.
They weren't the founders. They weren't owners of the company. But,
yeah, it was like a year into it or whatever. These other dudes were brought in. They made their $1 million and then they got canceled or something. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, there were a lot of good first issues and not very many subsequent ones. Like a lot of promising looking stuff.
Like Shaman's Tears lasted.
Oh, really?
Like I think Tribe kind of, I don't know, like there's a
Maybe
couple of
3
image
issues, maybe.
issues. Yeah, and then they went to another publisher, or like it must be kind of like that these guys, they made a big splash, made a bunch of money with Image, and they're like, well, I could do this myself. And they started their own publishing company, and then that didn't work out, or they didn't know what to do, or
Right.
who knows, a million other things could have happened. And so they published one issue, and that's the last you saw of it. I think even Trencher was kind of like that. I think Giffen must have had a stake in this Black Ball Comics thing, and they published like
Isn't
two
that
or
where
three
Tribe
comics.
went? Maybe Black Ball?
No, Tribe was shit, I can't remember. No, it wasn't Black Ball.
I was just looking. I didn't realize he did so much Alien Legion. I knew he did a few issues, but he did a ton of them.
Oh, really?
Larry Strawman.
I know he did that, but I don't know how much even exists. Like there's a bunch of like different little Alien Legion things.
Yeah, I always wonder, this is an outsider perspective. I don't know if this is really what the problem was. It always seemed like these guys were trying to get away from being oppressed by deadlines from Marvel or DC, but they weren't necessarily good at not having an editor breathing down their neck. So after the first issue, the gaps would get bigger and bigger between the issues till they just puttered out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as like you or me making a mini comic, right? Like,
right. Totally.
Yeah, we can do it. We could totally do it. And if there's somebody like David, you need to get this done by the end of the week, or you won't get paid. I'll be like, I'll fucking do it because I want to get paid.
Right.
But then once you're a millionaire and you've started your own publishing company, and you are not going to hire anybody to tell you what to do, yeah, you're not going to fucking do shit, right?
Right. Giffen's not a good example because he's pretty prolific. Like,
right. Yeah, he can do a comic. He can do 3 comics in a month. We know Larry Stroman can do a comic in a month because he did that all the time. Right. But
I mean, I know a ton of artists, comic artists who are like that, ones that even work for bigger publishers, and they wish they had more time to, like, they just creaked in the backgrounds. And this one guy I know feels guilty about it, and he wants to go back and redo it. But I look at it and like, I don't even notice. It looks fine. Like you would just overwork this comic forever. There's something to be said for doing the best you can within a constrained amount of time. And I think there's this tendency to want to like make every page perfect, but I don't know that necessarily makes a better comic.
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't. I think
right.
If it's perfect,
right.
Like there are some people, some rare people who every drawing they do looks really great. And it, like, even they understand like the magic of comics, where the whole thing doesn't have to be great. Just like the foreground has to be, or is good, and then the background can be nothing or whatever, right. Like there's just balance. And some people, even the really great draftsmen, there are some who understand that and can just crank them out.
Well, right. The really good guys who hit deadline, like the Sal Buscema's and all those guys, Don Hex, the guys who were doing monthly books for decades and decades, they get to the point where they can bullshit things and it looks good because there's a style to it, like a shorthand to the way they draw the buildings in the background real quick.
Right.
So not only does it look like they took a shortcut, but it looks good the way they did it, like it's their style.
Yeah, I wonder if those guys ever thought about it at all. Like those examples: Don Heck, Sal Buscema, Joe Jella. These dudes who are like masters, like they can draw like a guy in spandex like instantly, and do it 100 times, and now you got a comic book, like those kind of guys. Have you ever heard that it's like a Kyle Baker thing where he talks about his process, where he's like, the first thing you do is draw all the figures. Like he does it by a stopwatch or something, or an alarm clock, where he does 3 pages a day, because the first thing he does is the figures, and then do the backgrounds, like the unimportant stuff. And then if you're getting near the alarm going off because it's been half an hour on this page, you just start blacking in stuff, and then you're done. And it's like this weird race,
That's kind of clever.
Yeah. And he's prolific and he's fast. And once you know the balance of like, oh yeah, I can just do silhouettes on this panel, and like get your brush and blah, blah, blah. Like did Don Heck think of it that way, or is it like he just did it, like he was a little bit more I don't know, like holistic or instinctual about doing his comics than like Kyle Baker was like, no, I set my alarm for half an hour and I'm done. because I do it in this kind of like assembly line kind of way.
Yeah, I think it's like they don't think of themselves as artists so much as like craftsmen. And they're like, I've got 8 hours to do this, but then I'm going home to my wife and I got to start the next one tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. If I don't get this done, Stan's going to yell at me or my paycheck will be delayed or whatever.
Right. They're not like, I could do this better. Maybe Stan will give me an extension or do a fill in or something like that. They don't think like that. They just get it done to the best of their ability within that time.
Right. And it absolutely doesn't matter because, I mean, especially in this era and prior to it, like those 8-year-olds aren't going to know the difference or care. You know, they read them once and throw them away, or they don't even read them once. You know what I mean? And we can do that. Like I do that. I do shit like this day after day in my animation job, you know, where it's like I got all these drawings. I got to get them done in whatever 10 days or 8 days or something, and it's like I can't I got to only have an hour to do this. I can't really fuss over it. I have to just do the best I can. And
time is such an important component in published comics that is not often taken into consideration by like fans. Like no one was clamoring for like a Sal Buscema image book. Sal Buscema is doing like drawing 2 full books a month for decades, while these image guys who each page look beautiful, but maybe they only get 1 issue out every 3 or 4 months. Like it's a different thing in a way.
Yeah. Well, and it's a mindset where they really only liked Jim Lee for his drawings. Maybe Jim Lee's the wrong example, but you know, it's like those image guys, they're all about the style and the look. Whereas Sal Buscema, he's got to do a whole Spider-Man comic that's readable, you know? And Youngblood, it's unreadable dreck, it's garbage, and et cetera, et cetera.
And it's just it's not a fair comparison because you don't know what Sal Buscema could do with 22 pages if he had 5 months to draw it. And you don't know what would Todd McFarlane's artwork look like if he drew 2 books a month.
Right.
Actually, he did for a little while. It was kind of terrible. Way back early on.
I kind of like the early Todd McFarlane art. Well, maybe not the earliest, like Infinity Incorporated. I think that looks okay.
He was good on Hulk, but then he started doing like Hulk and Spider-Man at the same time and early suffered before he just switched over to one.
Yeah.
Anyway, this so something kind of interesting about this issue, the first the cover and the first page almost act like panels, like a before and after scene.
Oh yeah, but neither one happens in the actual story, right?
No, but they're both they both act like covers that are sort of giving you the idea of what's happening in the story, but they're almost sequential because the Legion is coming towards him in the first one and he's saying, you know, get out of here or whatever. In the second one, they're running off in fear. They're like, okay, we're out of here. And the pose is very similar. But the story starts, the proper story starts on page 2, where we see satellite, a probe crashing to Earth. And then we cut to the Legionnaires who are actually talking about this very probe and how they need to recover it because apparently the greatest heist of the 30th century occurred with it. Some jewel thieves, I guess, hollowed it out and hid the jewels inside of the satellite before it was launched.
That should have been this comic. That story, The Greatest Heist, where somehow some jewelry guys, like no one's been able to find out what happened to the treasure. That's I don't know, it's a lot more intriguing story than the one in this comic book.
Right.
I mean, even if you were not going to tell us this story in this issue, like do it. That's a good comic, like a heist comic. Like everybody loves heist movies. They're so good, like a good heist movie. Like there's fucking 4 Ocean's 11 movies. People love that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe they just don't think they can pull it off in comics, like the clock is ticking kind of stuff and all.
Feels like that could be something that they would have done in the Silver Age. Well, like when they were doing those thin movie ripoffs of popular films at the time, like the Dirty Dozen, and they do like a comic version of that with the Legion.
Yeah, but I think this is a cool idea where they get the tip off that the heisters hid the treasure in a satellite.
The satellite, and they realize it has just recently crashed. Brainiac 5 thinks, well, this is easy. We just recover it. Cosmo Boy's like, not so fast. It landed on the island of Compton.
Oh, jeez.
Of
Green people shouldn't set foot there.
Right. They don't want your kind around there. You don't want to be there after sundown.
He says, if we're going there, we have a rough job ahead of us.
Right.
It's crazy. Like they
it's like a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, but when you finally get to Marzelle,
Right.
it looks so great. Like it looks like this awesome place.
Right. It's
like
very Wakanda-ish,
yeah.
which is, quite a bit older than this. Like maybe close to 10 years earlier that Marvel did their version of this story, but much much better.
Yeah, was Wakanda like I not a Marvel reader, haven't
Right.
read much Black Panther. I know the movie a little bit. Like, yeah, Wakanda is this technologically advanced place. They
Right.
have in the movies they have what they lay on all the deposits of adamantium
Vibranium.
or whatever. Oh,
Vibranium.
vibranium. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
all in the comic. I mean, there's a little not so great stuff, I guess. Uh, I mean, they're kind of like it's a weird juxtaposition. Like they still have like spears and stuff and African stuff, but they also have all this technology and they're super smart.
Yeah.
So it's mentioned that they are this place is populated entirely by a black race that wants nothing to do with the outside world.
Yeah, that was the first place I cringed. Like it's a black race of people who live here.
I guess we still refer to people as races, but when you phrase it that way, it sounds very different. Well, the way it's phrased, it almost sounds like they're like a different species. The Legion arrives at Azure,
Marzelle.
Marzelle,
I don't know.
Marzelle, to recover to recover the probe when they encounter
As they're landing their spaceship, they see these guys, right?
And they are the second most notorious gang in the galaxy, the Betas.
Does it really call them the second?
No, it does not. It does not. But it says they're the Betas, the most notorious gang in the galaxy. And it just seems like if you're the number one most notorious, you'd be like the Alphas, right? Not the
right.
Betas.
Why would you call yourself the Betas?
Right.
Hopefully, some Alphas will show up and tell these guys what's what.
Right.
Did you notice in the first panel, there's a little bit of exposition that comes out of a word balloon coming out of like a tour bus, flying shuttle, and they're describing the city and how no one can go or no one goes there. The people of the city don't want anyone. Right. And there's writing. There's writing on the side of that shuttle. It's really hard to read.
What does that say? Argo Towers? Or Afro Towers? Agro Towers? Tours.
It either says Aero Tours, Aero, or
gotta be
Afro Tours, because they're flying over Africa. Right. I guess they're touring Africa.
My guess is it's Aero Tours, right?
I don't know. Like as tone deaf as this stupid thing is, like it's Afro
like
Tours.
It's like the train that goes through the zoo.
Well, and this is where the black race thing comes from.
Right.
It's not the Legion saying that or the narrator saying that. It's a tour guide from Afro Tours Incorporated. And yeah, in a minute they'll be like, oh, all right, we're here over another part of this continent, and here's another black race of critters.
Right. And it's a little weird too, because at least in the modern day, we don't intentionally casually fly over unfriendly states.
Yeah.
But
if you're
risk getting shot down or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't think of them as a government, but instead as a herd of wild animals, you might fly over them.
Right.
Yeah, this comic is kind of messed up when you start talking about it like the way we talk about comic books, in the most intelligent way possible.
Enlightened fellows that we are.
Yeah, so they see the Betas. The Legion just flies up and parks someplace. Like you remember in Empire Strikes Back when they're going to Cloud City and they have to call in and they land on this little dock, and it makes you think there's like hundreds and hundreds of those little docks for spaceships to land on. It's kind of like that, only these guys, the Legion guys, didn't get any permission. It's like they just flew in and they parked their fucking spaceship on my front lawn, and they're going to get out and do some kind of stupid investigation.
Oh, I guess they did land. I thought Brainiac 5 was still flying and the rest of them flew out.
Yeah, they're landing here in the fifth panel. As they're landing, they see the Betas.
They're the Legion. They can go anywhere they want. They're beloved.
They're cops. And they're pulling up and parking in my driveway. Look, cops, I pay your salary. You park on the street, maybe down the block.
Right. We have a very specific gang of Legionnaires this time. We have the blue girl, the green guy, the ostensibly Asian character, and of course, Superboy.
Yep. And my girl drew him, and I think he's probably been drawing Karate Kid pretty Asian.
Right.
And in fact, there was one, I don't know if it's before or after this, where he's straight up Bruce Lee, right?
Right. But it is sort of a retcon. Like he wasn't drawn that way originally. It makes sense, and I have no problem with the change, but I don't think he was originally introduced as an Asian character. I mean, it makes him a better character this way.
Yeah, you pointed it out because they made sure and put their most diverse, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Because Brainiac 5, he's drawn like a white guy, but they just
he's a very European looking guy. I mean,
yeah. And Shadowless, she was kind of drawn. She looked a little more black in her early appearances, and then she kind of goes back and forgotten. Forth. Yeah.
And there, if I remember right, there might be a couple lines that sort of suggest that they're sort of an analog for African Americans.
The Tyrocians. Well, am I remembering wrong that she was inspired by Uhura? I don't know if that's right or not.
I don't remember hearing that, but that would not surprise me. So anyway, the Legion has to get out and kick the Beta's asses. They want to pull a white savior and save these guys.
They get their share of that. They get to do that later.
But then they hear a mysterious sound that causes all of the Beta's rocket packs to burst into flame.
Yeah, the Legionnaires think they're gonna fall to their deaths because their rocket packs blow up.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. They get, I don't know what this is, some kind of weird globes, clear globes, man-sized globes attached to one another by chains, 3 of them.
Right.
Kind of also conjured up by a crazy sound.
Is this like part of his utility belt or something? Because he's got all the circles and he's got the chains incorporated into his costume. Is this like something specific to him?
It's different than the way I always thought about the powers of Tyroc.
Right. I wouldn't. Yeah, they do appear when the sound shows up.
Right.
But he has like teleporting powers, right? So maybe he's just teleporting them in, making them materialize around.
Oh, that could be
the bad guys.
So before we get to the real introduction, the big introduction of the Tyroc, the
premiere,
the new black Legionnaire for the progressive modern 70s era.
Well, he's probably the second or maybe third African-American character in DC.
Yeah, something like that. I
think John Stewart might be the first.
Black Lightning, John Stewart. I was reading a Wikipedia and they were talking about, I guess there's debate about, it's a Teen Titans character named Mal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, he didn't have any superpowers. He was a hero, but he wasn't superpowered or something like that. So whatever.
I would say he counts, probably.
I would say so.
Right.
Like Batman doesn't have any superpowers either. So
powers, yeah.
Anyway, but in Amazing World DC Comics number 9, we've got a letter. Actually, first there's the coming comics.
It's beautiful reproduction.
It's not too bad. I had to make this part. This wasn't in Amazing World.
Oh wow!
This says, over 6 months of preparation introduces Tyroc, the hero who hated the Legion. Is he friend or fiend?
Fiend.
And will he aid 4 Legionnaires against the dreaded Beta Gang? And then later in this, there's a letter written into the Amazing World of DC magazine from Johnny J. Williams Jr., famous Legion fan. Mm-hmm. And I guess there must have been some announcement that there's a black Legionnaire coming to the Legion of Superheroes comics.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Williams has written in and he says, "Dear editor, so you finally have a black Legionnaire coming. Very good and long overdue." He says he's been a fan of the Legion since the very beginning, and he thinks that Tyroc could very well turn out to be a hit provided you try to avoid certain cliches. First of all, the hero who hated the Legion. This title intimates that Tyroc will have a chip on his shoulder. It doesn't take a genius to surmise that this will more than likely be due to the Legion's avoidance of black candidates for the membership in the past. Okay, I can deal with that. However, please do not overdo the quote-unquote angry young black theme.
Check.
He says, what we all know, black people are as amiable and understanding as anybody else. Remember that, you guys at DC.
Mhm.
I haven't seen him yet. However, the name Tyroc suggests, to me at least, super strength. I guess he's now getting into the powers, potential powers of this character. He doesn't know anything about him except his name and that he's black. Please, please do not have Tyroc's superpower be super strength. They got that one right. Your major competitor has 4 black superheroes. Can you name them? Who are they? Black Panther.
Probably, let's see, it's 1976, so probably like Goliath has shown up. Maybe he was called Black Goliath at first.
Okay.
It's totally obvious, right?
I don't know. I don't know too much about Marvel.
Maybe Blade has shown up.
Yeah, that Blade's around.
Somebody really obvious. Maybe I should look at my giant Marvel poster. Black Bolt.
Black Bolt is white. He's from space, but he's white.
He's not from space. He's from Earth.
What? The Inhumans are from Earth? I thought they were from the moon or something.
No. They relocated to the moon later.
Oh, are they Eternals?
No. It's totally different. Totally different.
All right, different subject. Let's get back to
actually. They're almost. It's very hard to tell them apart. It's very similar concepts. I give up. Who?
I have no idea. He is gonna say. I just was asking you if you knew because you read the Marvel comics and I don't.
Storm might be around by now.
Yeah.
76. It's right around that time, maybe a little earlier that the new X-Men showed up. So
okay, so that's 4, right? What'd you Black Panther, Black Goliath, Storm, and Blade. He says of these 4, 2 of them have super strength as their super ability, and the other 2 can fight good. So I guess Black Goliath and Black Panther are the strong ones, and Storm and Blade fight good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Black Panther has super strength or not. Maybe. Oh, you know who I'm forgetting? Duh, Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah. And he has super strength. That's his one power,
for sure.
Right? Yeah.
So, yeah.
Johnny Williams says, this implies the old stereotype of black people being all brawn, of being only people in physical powers along of being natural fighters.
DC does not follow that stereotype. In DC, all black heroes have electricity powers. Well, 9 out of 10.
In fact, the only black super being who possesses real power to rival that of the more powerful Caucasian characters is a female named Storm.
There we go.
But she implies another stereotype known as the Sapphire Complex. I haven't heard this one. The powerful, vital, black woman, as opposed to the all-muscle, no real ability characterization of the black man. This is in boldface. Do not make Tyroc just big and strong. He looks big and strong, but that's not his powers. Is he drawn more muscly than most of the Legionnaires? I guess he is.
I kind of think he is.
He says, give the man some power. He says there's enough super muscle for any one group. Next point, please do not make Tyroc speak in the idiom. I don't think we really hear that phraseology anymore. I don't know, like street slang or something is kind of what he's talking about, right? Believe it or not, all black people do not speak alike. This is supposed to be taking place in the 30th century. People in this future era are supposedly exposed to a great diffusion of cultures and peoples. So he shouldn't be calling everybody blood and brother and
right. Obviously, you and I were not around then, and when we were babies. But I don't think all black people, or even most black people, were probably walking around talking that way. Like the way they talk almost across the board in any like TV show or movie from the 1970s.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the younger dudes talk like that, but they're not all cut me some slack, Jack.
But it is a big, like even like when you and I were kids, that was the days of NWA, and Snoop Dogg and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, but that stuff seems less over the top to me than the stuff the way you hear black people talking in 70s shows. And again, I wasn't around black people in the 1970s and old enough to understand what they were saying, but it seems very unreal the way they talk. Well, the white people don't sound very real either, so I can only assume the black people are even more off, since it's all written by white people.
All I know is that all black people say dynamite all the time.
Right. James Baldwin didn't sound too much like that.
James Baldwin and his portraits of Black Jesus. Talking about dynamite. Also, don't be afraid to give Tyroc high intelligence. Do not think that I imply that those who do speak in the idiom are not of high intelligence. That would be erroneous. It would be great to have Tyroc, just your average 30th century, superpowered teenager. We have enough super hip black heroes already. Luke Cage, anybody?
Luke Cage is cool, though.
Yeah, I guess. Next point, please. Please give Tyroc a nicely sized afro. Almost all the Caucasian male legionnaires sport stylish, long hair. I guess in these days they kind of do. Cosmic Boy's getting kind of long. Ultra Boy definitely has long hair.
Well, even look at Superboy on the cover.
Does he have long hair on this? He has kind of a wavier hair, so I don't think
he has the
really
square
long.
equivalent. Like if you were going to like a parochial or private school, like you couldn't have your hair going over your ears. They would still kind of let it helmet out a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Even I guess would this bouncing boy be considered long hair, where it goes like helmet hair way down on his forehead? He's looking a little Jim Reed there.
Yeah, he does look like Jim Reed. A few too many cheeseburgers.
He says the big afro works to convey an image of youth.
So he's saying he wants a big afro.
Wants a big afro.
He's pro big afro.
Yeah. He doesn't want him to speak in the idiom. Doesn't want him to just be super strong. Does want big afro. Was there one other thing? No, I guess he started with the strength. Oh, he doesn't want him to be angry young black man. So we're about 50-50, I think, on his requests so far. Last but not least, do not have him come from a socially depressed area of the 30th century Earth.
Right.
If we still have slums in the 30th century, then there's no hope, and all the programs are for naught. The sociologists may as well give up now. I feel as though if you manage to avoid these stereotypes and cliches, Tyroc may well turn out to be the find of 1976. I guess I did this wrong. I pointed out the things that came true versus the things that didn't come true before we showed Tyroc. I shouldn't have done it that way.
This writer is probably black themselves, right?
Because
it seems like even the most well-intentioned white person, there's clunkiness in that writing that feels dated now, and I don't detect any of that in here.
And then the editor, I don't know, Carl Gafford is the writer of this column. I guess at this point the Tyroc story has already come out. Mm-hmm. He says, as you could see from the story, the hero who hated the Legion, Tyroc, did have a chip on his shoulder, but it was one of misunderstanding. He is open-minded and wishes to pursue this new insight. Tyroc is not super strong, he's tough, but no more than most 30th century teenagers. Tyroc does indeed sport an afro. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's see him. Let's see the first appearance of Tyroc in the comic.
What is this from? What is this excerpted from?
It was published in Amazing World of DC Comics. I don't think it was in issue 9. I think it was in a subsequent issue.
Okay.
I combined like the issue 9 of Amazing World was all Legion issue that had like this big what do you call it? Legion handbook.
Right. So this is a company made fanzine.
Yeah.
Right. So this guy has the authority to respond to this in this way because he's actually
right.
DC.
He's in the whatever. He's part of the company.
Right.
Issue 9 of Amazing World was all Legion, but then subsequent issues had a few pages that were devoted to Legion topics called Legion Outpost, where they would publish letters. They would have essays about, like, this one's talking about, it's like a big long thing about a kid who built his own Legion cruiser.
Right. You got that cutout of Brainiac 5, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I'm blacked out, but yeah.
Cool. I did my best to preserve the low print quality that I discovered or that I found of these. Yeah, there's some new heroes that are suggested. I think this character, this Nightwing, might have actually been in the Legion or in the comics. Lamprey was definitely one of the characters. This one, I don't know. Yeah, these are all drawn by John Workman, the famous letterer. Crystal Kid, Lamprey, Thunderbow. But yeah, that's what. Is
that John Workman? Is that who drew this?
Yeah, the John Workman. He's a good cartoonist.
Evidently.
But yeah, we'll see what if Johnny J. Williams's requests come to pass. So here he is, the first on-screen appearance of Tyroc on page 6.
This is I think this is the best page in the book. I mean, drawing wise, it's really stands out.
It has a kind of what would you call it? Creative layout, right? I think I didn't know how to read it. Well, is it this page? Is another page I couldn't read that couldn't figure out the order.
Illiterate.
But yeah, this guy flies into view and he takes out the Beta gang and upstages the Legion all together. But they all those weird sounds. It's determined that it's coming from it's his voice. It's Tyroc's voice.
So far we've seen at least he can teleport with it, and I guess he flies with it too. So he doesn't have the ring yet.
The first thing he did was he burns up the rocket packs of the Beta gang, and then he imprisons them in globes.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
And to me, it just sounds like magic. Like Green Lantern does stuff like putting guys in globes with chains and stuff.
Yeah, but it also sort of flies in the face of the writers all saying like his power is useless and they don't know what to do with his power. It seems like this guy has a plethora of interesting powers that.
Yeah, exactly. I was reading the Wikipedia or whatever, and they had the quotes from Paul Levitz, who's like, I don't know how to you can't do sound-based powers in a comic. It's so impossible. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And then they even on Wikipedia, they're like, well, Black Canary had been a character since the 40s.
Right. And right at this time, the most popular comic out is X-Men, and Banshee is one of the main ones at this time.
Yeah. But also, Tyroc, he's doing shit with his vocal cords that those other characters don't even do.
Right.
He is magic when he does his cries.
Right. His can like warp space-time or something crazy like that with his voice. So
yeah, he can do all kinds of stuff. He can fly.
Right.
I mean, does Banshee fly? Black Canary, I don't think flies, but Banshee does. Mm-hmm. But this stuff with the clear plastic prison globes and setting fire.
I think Banshee can fly, and then he can blow things up or knock people. It's like a force blast of voice, right? So
this other stuff that Tyroc is doing is completely different.
Tyroc can do all that too, plus this stuff.
Yeah, and here Paul Levitz is like, I didn't know how to do it. Nobody could do a good job with that kind of stuff. Right. It's kind of a cop out.
Right. And we know, should we bring up that how Mike Grell was not excited to do this character? He was less than thrilled.
Less than thrilled, yeah.
Well, he'd wanted to introduce a black character for a while, as had Jim Shooter before him, but they were continually shot down. Now, Jim Shooter, it probably was for racist reasons that they weren't introducing black characters. By the time Mike Grell was turned down, it was because Murray Boltinoff had come up with this idea that he wanted to use. He just hadn't had an opportunity yet, which was going to explain why we had not seen any black character in the 30th century all this time. And he was waiting the thinking, for the right time. Right.
Waiting for the right time. Mm-hmm. He's like, let's just wait for the civil rights movement thing to get all settled, and then we can talk about this. Ridiculous idea, Murray. When I read it, I was like, oh, Murray Boltinoff is this old guard type of dude. He is still just reinforcing, like, we don't have black superheroes. We don't do that.
Right.
But you're saying that he just didn't want, he wanted to wait till the time was right to unveil his brilliant
I think I
idea.
read, like, he, at least with Mike Grell, like, he vetoed him making characters black. And maybe he had drawn some black characters, and possibly they had changed them to white characters or colored them white, because he said, no, we've got something planned for this, like, in 6 issues. The Tyroc thing, and it'll get in the way. We can't have 2 black characters. Come on, it's crazy.
We don't have 2 green characters. Why would we have 2 black characters?
Right. We only have 1 green guy per team. You only have 1 person who can walk through walls. You can only have 1 brown guy.
On the Wikipedia, they talk about Mike Grell. No, this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It kind of didn't rub me the wrong way. It was kind of didn't quite jive, because they said Mike Grell didn't like the whole plan. And then they had a quote from Mike Grell saying that he was so against the Tyroc character that he kind of designed the costume in a disrespectful way. There's a quote from him, it's like, it's halfway between Las Vegas Elvis and a pimp on the street or something like that. This is a quote from Mike Grell. Like,
it doesn't quite jive with his philosophy. Like, I wonder how much of this is like He's sort of retconning things.
Yeah, kind of a revisionist
Right.
stance on his dislike of the Tyroc character,
I would
potentially.
think he would try, because it's going to reflect on him. His name is on the book, so he probably want
Right.
to make him look as cool as possible. And maybe it looks dated now, but I could see it seems like a plausibly acceptable superhero costume for this period of time.
It doesn't seem too much worse than the other Mike Grell costumes, or
Right.
irreverent or anything. Yeah.
Right. Jim Shooter, I think the Wikipedia mentions like the whole separatist idea was like one of the most appalling ideas he'd ever seen. Like it's really horrific.
Yeah.
Right, of course. And then Grell, of course, it's like I see the quote used a lot in reference to Tyroc, but he says like Tyroc sounds a bit too much like Tyrone.
Right.
And I think it's suggested like maybe that was intentional, which I could kind of see. Maybe they weren't intentionally setting out to be racist with that, but maybe unconsciously when they chose that name. Tyrone or Tyroc sounds right. That sounds like a black superhero's name.
Yeah,
but I guess there's that's conjecture. We don't know.
Yeah, when you read that quote of Mike Grell, like, yeah, he says something like, oh, they might as well have just called him Tyrone.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know if somebody wrote down Tyrone and then was like, well, what if we changed these two letters? I don't know.
I don't think anyone did that deliberately.
Yeah.
Maybe it rang true to them because it reminded them of that name unconsciously or something.
Yeah, I don't know why they came up with or how they decided to say, "Oh, this guy's name is Tyroc." Like we've got Colossal Boy and Light Lass and Dream Girl, Tyroc. Like he's the first one maybe that broke from Superboy, Phantom Girl type of shit.
No, Timberwolf and Wildfire.
Yeah, but even those are kind of descriptive of either their powers or their look or whatever, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, Tyroc is like, that's his name, I guess. Like, that doesn't describe a sound power.
Right.
You know? And in fact, nobody else ever had a name like that.
Couldn't very well put a boy onto his name, but
yeah.
And they're also by now probably over 18, probably not eager to use those names anyway. Doesn't make much sense. Yeah, but they could have come up with something better for sure. Maybe something that somehow evoked his power.
Right, like Frequency Lad or something like that. Or whatever. Yeah. Sound Man.
Acoustic Kid. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Kid. That's a good one. Yeah, you wouldn't want to use Boy. That's for sure.
Or Acoustic King, I guess.
Oh, King. Yeah, that's a good last name to have.
I like the idea that all the kids become kings when when they switch to the adult names in the adult legion. Karate King.
That's like the title of a kung fu movie. That's perfect. King Boxer. That's what he should grow up.
Yeah, I think that's in the adult legion issue, I think.
Karate King.
Yeah, I don't remember if we see him, but I think he gets named. Moving along.
Tyroc makes an announcement to all the people of Marzelle not to render any aid to the Legion of Superheroes people. They're there against the rules. And Tyroc himself is going to stop these beta gang interlopers.
This is a very strange scene. Like, it makes me wonder if it was they originally intended the guy on the screen to be someone else, like the president of the country or something, because they're standing right in front of Tyroc in real life. And then we have this exposition video playing right beside them.
Yeah, and he also, his whole problem with the Legion, I guess, when they speak to him, is to say that the Legion has never helped the people of Marzelle for anything.
Right.
And it's probably because they don't help black people or something like that.
It feels a little bit to me like the writers are trying to make some sort of commentary about black people, I guess. Like, they want to be independent. They don't want to have anything to do with us, but then they want to complain that we're not helping them.
Yeah.
It seems to be what he's saying here. And he's very bitter.
Yeah, the writer seems to try and absolve the Legion, who kind of represents whatever, like the white society or law enforcement society, the man, absolve them of any allegation that they specifically don't help black people.
Right.
And by saying that, oh, well, we will help you, just we didn't know you were here, didn't know you had a problem, and we
were welcome here to come help you.
Yeah. Also, a detail is later they say, or at the end of Tyroc's message to his people, he's like, "This is the end of my pre-recorded message."
Right.
I don't know when he recorded it because he's talking about very, very recent events in his pre-recorded recording.
Yeah, and we have like maybe the best line in the comic is Shadow laughs, going, "He's really bitter."
You can say
Such
that
a
again,
bad
Shadow
attitude. Such a bad attitude. Yeah, and then they proceed to give us like an example of this idea. Like there are some citizens in danger. Karate Kid and Superboy save them, and what do? They're like, "Get out of here. We didn't ask for your help."
Yeah. This is total like Republican bullshit or something. It's like, oh, we help you, and this is the thanks we get. You'd rather be crushed by the falling bridge than have our help.
Right.
Why would we ever help you?
Exactly.
But Superboy says something dumb like, it's later when they're talking to Tyroc, I guess. It's like, we don't do it for thanks. We do it because it's right or something stupid like that.
Tyroc did a good job brainwashing them with hatred.
Tyroc, modern day Hitler.
It's it's reverse racism,
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, so then we have like a tiny, I don't know if it's a subplot, a cutaway where one of the betas is acting a bit suspiciously, and he's watching the Legion watch the Tyroc video, which will make sense in another couple of pages.
Oh yeah, I get it now. Brainiac 5's using his it looks like a Mr. Spock communication device, but it's actually a gem scanner.
Right. And you have to be quiet. It needs his total concentration. That's how brilliant this device is.
To push the one button on the front of the gem scanner and turn it on.
Right.
He says the closer you get to the gems. And I guess now the treasure in this satellite is just gems now. And they get there, I guess, well, the betas have gotten to the satellite before the Legion has. And it blows up on them.
Right. They pry it open with a walking cane, and well, maybe that's a crowbar. And apparently, like in space, the jewels have been radiated and they're dangerously radioactive.
Explosively radioactive.
Instantly killing all but one of the betas.
Yeah. Oh, it says they've been made lethal when exposed to light.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Crazy science here.
It is.
But yeah, there's the one remaining beta, a white guy. He seems like he's trying to, he wants to send a message to the Legionnaires because even though he has been harmed by this dangerous radiation explosion, he doesn't want them to get too close. He's going to help them out. And he tries he might to get their attention. It seems like maybe he's going to be unable to get the Legion's attention and warn them away.
Right. Because no sound comes from his voice.
Yep.
He's silent.
But he is making a kissy face. He's going, Superboy. So this is maybe Duo Damsel in disguise, infiltrating the beta gang. With her dying breath, she's like, Superboy.
Do you think, here's my crazy overthinking theory. Do you think the betas were meant to be like a rival?
Oh.
Two reasons I say that. Beta, like who are the alphas? Secondly, if the whole idea is he's in disguise, why would it's kind of ruined when you have an exposed face, right? If they're all pink guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It turns out that this beta is Tyroc himself in disguise.
I should have said this later.
Yeah. So, right. Like, yeah, it almost seems like they should have been black because now in order for Tyroc to infiltrate the gang, he's in whiteface disguise.
Yeah, it just seems like such a deliberate design choice with these characters. There's tons of villains, no-name villains they fight more often than not don't expose any flesh.
Yeah.
So they made the point of leaving the mouth open here.
Right. And they're kind of their costumes are all black.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus Christ, 2 ads. Yeah, but see, Grell doesn't really draw him with black features exactly. Like he has kind of thin lips, which is, I guess, is all you could use to discern them. So I don't know. I don't know if the beta gang guys look kind of Caucasian.
Yeah.
But there's no close-ups of them until this one page. So they could be any race, ethnicity, color, or creed.
Right. Second most notorious gang in the universe.
But you're saying they're called the betas because they're second-class citizens, they're black people, and the alphas would be white people?
No. Like the alpha faction is Tyroc's people.
Oh, okay.
And like the betas are like some other faction of black separatists, or they're like the bad black separatists, or
yeah. I mean, the betas are just supposed to be
space pirates or something.
Yeah, they're just like robbers opportunists or something.
So you think they just pick beta because it sounds cool, and no one's going to think about how it means second, not first.
Right, I think so.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just a sci-fi sounding word.
Mm-hmm.
Superboy takes care of the irradiated shit and throws it out to an uninhabited planet.
After he shuts Shadowlass down. It's like, Shadowlass, no questions, just do as I say.
Yeah, he's kind of a...
I don't have time for your woman talk.
Right, where's your whip, Superboy?
Right. Apparently, like, if once the light is gone, they stop being radioactive. Not only did it catalyze it, but if they're in shadow, they're no longer dangerous. Then he can safely chuck them to some other planet to kill some other people. Somebody else's problem.
This is so fucking dumb. I mean, not even talking about the racist stuff. The scientific stuff is so fucking dumb. Like, you can do better than this. Like, it's radioactive when it's in the daylight, but if you put it in the dark, you just flip the light switch. It's no longer radioactive.
Superman also has a bad habit of chucking stuff into space. I think that there's almost even a joke about that, like in the second movie. I think, doesn't he chuck a bomb out into space and it frees the bad guys?
Oh, yeah. I think that is how they get free, isn't it?
Not my problem now.
every issue of Superman, every Superman story has a new alien race.
Right.
And they're all from planets out there.
Right.
I mean, in this, they do make the point of saying, oh, I threw it to an uninhabited planet. But
yeah, that's what he always says. Like he knows.
Right. Well, there's no life. It's just rock.
That's why people keep attacking, because somebody from Earth keeps chucking bombs at their planets.
Like, yeah, which one of you dumb son of a bitches chucked the radioactive jewels to my planet and devastated our society?
Right.
So they pull that mask off of Tyroc, the beta mask, and the Caucasian parts, the eyes and mouth, are part of the mask. So I guess he didn't have to put on a foundation that makes him look like a white person. It's
so he either specially made the mask, or maybe these guys are all like really inhuman.
Oh yeah, those guys are wearing a mask to disguise. Like, I bet the beta guys are still black people, and they're wearing a mask to appear as white people so that they can fit in with all the white villains.
False flag.
Shit. It's like that Adam 12 episode. Did you ever see that one?
Which one?
Where they're trying to track down this guy, and it's the reverse of that. There's a serial robber, and everybody's like, no, he had a big afro, black guy. Mm-hmm. He's wearing gloves. And they finally track him down, and it's this white guy who's in blackface with a wig on, and he's trying to smear black people, I guess.
I don't remember that. That's awesome.
It's pretty messed up and stupid. And he looks so stupid when you get up close to him, like, it's obviously
no
like
gonna buy it, right?
It's like Ed Begley Jr. or something, with like black paint on or brown makeup,
It's like those guys who, all those crazy socialists who, what did they do? They vandalized like a conservative voting place, and they wrote like Bernie rules and put like the anarchy symbol and like Hillary is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, obviously someone from the left wrote this.
Right. Bernie rules and Hillary's awesome.
Right. And anarchy. Right.
Yep. Anything except Republicans rules.
Right.
Oh, this is the last page of the comic. There's a backup, but this one went by really fast, which I noticed even when I was reading it. Like,
blissful.
Yeah, thankfully. It's mercifully short. They kind of changed the entire understanding that Marzelle has of the outside world. With Tyroc as the representative. Like, Tyroc is now buddies with the Legion of Superheroes by the end, where at the beginning and on the cover, he's like, we hate you, leave, despise everything you stand for.
He understands now that the Legion is colorblind. The blue skin, yellow skin, green skin, they're all brothers and sisters. And all this time he thought racism was systemic, but really it's just
it's what is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, Superboy is here to tell you that affirmative action is wrong.
Right.
Yeah, this is so stupid. Superboy is like, when it comes to race, we're colorblind, and he points out the 3 different colors of Legionnaires.
Right.
But then, how many Legionnaires are there? There's like 26, 25 of them. And so these 3 are not white people.
Right.
The other 22 are white people.
But more importantly, it's I'm friends with the green guy and the yellow guy and the blue girl. So you have no reason to be mad at me. You don't need to have a stick up your ass about this old racism stuff. It's not affecting you today. We're all buddies here.
We're all buddies. But yeah, Tyroc's like, I guess I've been wrong about a lot of things.
This is before he spends all like 5 of his appearances like in the background, being left out, being stuck on monitor. Like, we need like an untold tale of his last day at the Legion. Like, nope, I was right the first time. These assholes won't let me do anything.
His next cover appearance, he literally has a muzzle on, so he can't speak.
He had another cover appearance? I don't even remember.
Oh, I think it's like 2 issues after this. I think it must be 218 or something, or 2.
Well, I wrote down, and I didn't vet it. I didn't vet this, but did you see on the Wikipedia there's like a bibliography? I'm pretty sure that this is just every appearance he's ever had. So he showed up in all of the Bronze Age, like, from the time he appeared all the way up to 5 years later, the beginning of 5 years later. He'd only shown up 9 times. And like 7 of those, he's just an unspeaking character in the background. But he shows up 17 times during the
he's kind of a second banana, but he's still a bigger character.
Yeah, he gets to talk and do stuff.
I was thinking about his personality in the 5 years later, and he is. I don't think he's as strong of a personality as he is in this issue for sure. And in fact, they kind of switch. Like, it's still not very. It's
great.
It's still not very good when he's in the 5 years later period, because somehow Invisible Kid 2, Jacques Foccart is Tyroc's boss now or whatever in some resistance movement. And so it's like the 2 Black Legionnaires, they're now best bros, and they're in their group together. But also, I think Jacques Foccart, Invisible Kid, now kind of has the Tyroc personality, and Tyroc now has Invisible Kid's more meek personality.
More passive,
yeah. They really swapped them.
Right.
Like, I think in my mind, the leader of the resistance movement ought to be Tyroc, and Invisible Kid should be like the right hand or the operative.
That makes way more sense
in the group. Yeah, it's just because, and they're both Legionnaires. Just Invisible Kid is like safe, I guess. Is that why? It's like he's not a threatening black guy. Is that why Paul Levitz, or is that why Keith Giffen and the Beer Bombs did this?
Yeah, he's Geordie LaForge-ish or something. He's
like he's just a super nice guy, right?
Right.
But also, like, the kind of milk toasty personality that Invisible Kid 2 always had. Like, this dude is not the leader of a guerrilla resistance movement. Yeah,
right.
But this angry guy who is like, he doesn't like being oppressed.
Maybe the idea is he's changed, I guess, but. Yeah, it does leave Tyroc like out. Then he's playing Cary. He's out of character.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I mean, I think maybe the original idea is we're going to show that this isn't pushover Invisible Kid anymore. He's a more decisive
right. He's been
guy.
Hardened by the tough times and the
right.
But also Tyroc, wouldn't he have been affected the same way? He got nicer and softer.
Well, yeah, it's weird. Did you read what happened to him and how he reappeared? I had no idea. I don't think it was mentioned in the Wikipedia, but I had to figure out how the hell did he end up there for 5 years later? Was it just sort of, the reset somehow magically the island's back? But it's not.
Oh, right. It said the Dominators destroyed it.
Like they'd taken recordings of his voice. Like they could play it and it opened the portal and brought them back.
Wow, I didn't see that depth.
And then they killed everybody.
Yeah, I saw that part. Like, that's a total Keith Giffen. Like, yeah, they're dead now.
Right.
Destroyed the whole island of Marzelle. They never really say how many people live on it, but I don't know. It's still kind of ridiculous and wrong. But
I guess he's not the last. There are other survivors, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
What I read, it was just part of a whole long sentence that said Marzelle was destroyed. It didn't really say who and how and where, any of that stuff. So does he join the Legion at the end of this?
Yeah.
He says, I'm coming back to Metropolis with you to see if I qualify to become a Legionnaire. Long live the Legion, he says on the last panel. And he slips him some skin.
They disqualify him. Boring. We don't think you'll fit in here. You can go join the subs. Be a great retcon. Like if you did a story with the subs and kind of like allude to like they're all like one's Latino and one, like they're all like minorities.
Oh shit! Wow.
We just don't think you'd fit in with the culture. Polar Boy, your powers are too boring. What's your last name again?
Martinez.
Right.
No, if they were all minorities, they wouldn't even get to be substitutes. The Legion would have to be like, you have to promise never to use your superpowers.
Right.
But yeah, in this issue, he doesn't become a Legionnaire right off the bat. And also a lot of the real mythology and continuity of Tyroc is not introduced here, like the island that disappears every 200 years, or there's something else. Something about maybe his powers. I can't remember. The main thing is that the island's going to disappear, which...
I wonder if the island's disappearing wasn't established until they decided to make it disappear.
I think so. I think it's like, how do we think about how to get rid of this?
Right.
Maybe they just all disappear and we don't have to deal with them. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if these problem people would just disappear and go back where they came from?
Yeah, there's sort of a vicious circle. It's, if I'm at my most charitable to Levitz, maybe it was like the character was such an embarrassment he was avoiding him, but then it just seems like he could have done a better job. I guess he did bring in Invisible Kid too. I don't know why they wouldn't just write the character better.
Seems pretty easy to me, to just write the character better.
I bet he got a lot of shit from fans over the years about his position on Tyroc, because he makes it a point to use him when he comes back.
Yeah, that's another thing. I thought he did use him, but I don't think he used him very much. Like, Tyroc was in the Legion Lost title. Mm-hmm. Levitz didn't write that. But he must have used him a little bit, like a tiny bit in the... it was like a year-long series before New 52 or whatever. I think he was in that a tiny bit.
When they first bring him back, he's totally unrecognizable. He's got like a red bodysuit and a shaved head. Might as well be a different character. But later they give him kind of a costume that looks like it's reminiscent of this one, but less embarrassing, I guess. But he gets pants.
Yeah, more of a jumpsuit with pants.
Some goggles.
Yeah.
Cool haircut.
But I don't think any of that stuff was by Levitz.
Okay. Do better, Levitz.
Could have done way better by Tyroc.
All right. So the other story, there's a backup featuring Bouncing Boy and Duo Damsel called 1 + 1 = 3, which 1 + 1. Doesn't that sound 1 + 1 = 3? That sounds like they're having a baby story to me.
Yeah, it does kind of almost, huh?
She's got kind of a cool dress on, or not dress. What is it? A bodysuit? What do you call it?
You didn't recognize this costume?
She's worn it before? That's her costume?
No. It's based on that Star Trek episode with Andrea. She's a super sexy android character. She hangs out with Lurch.
I know that episode. I haven't seen it in a few years, but
it's the same.
She wore that
suit.
costume?
Yeah, pretty much. I think hers is kind of blue and like dark gray or something.
Right.
Almost black. But yeah, it's exactly like
I guess these are their cities, and I guess I could see like a woman dressed like that. I'm not sure. He's wearing still a little tubby. He's got the tight spandex.
Yeah, the plot of this one is that Bouncing Boy and Duo Damsel are just like walking out in the park, and they get attacked by these hoods. These are like 50s style biker hoods. Like this guy's got like a skull with knives in it on his back.
Right, but he's got short shorts on.
Yeah, they have little panties on instead of whatever, long pants. But they're wearing leather jackets with popped up collars and stuff.
Yes.
And they're getting revenge on Bouncing Boy for sending... I don't think it's even these guys who got sent to jail. It's some of the other dudes in their gang.
Right. This is a gang themed issue. This is yet another gang.
These must be... Are these the alphas maybe?
Well, anyway, they jump them while they're going for a walk in the park, and Bouncing Boy's ass right in front of his wife. So his wife ends up having to save him, and of course he complains about that because he feels emasculated by that. Just can't please him.
Yeah, he feels impotent because he no longer has his bouncing powers at this point. he can't get big, and so his wife has to take matters into her own hands.
She has to take care of herself.
Right.
She splits up here, and the colors don't split with her. What's up with that?
I don't know. They didn't really think about that. Maybe her civilian clothes they're not set up to change colors when she splits into.
Well, anyway, he remembers that these guys, he'd put them away or put away members of their gang in the past. They're the Rampager gang, and he figures they want revenge.
Yep, that's right. Duodamsel does a good job kicking their asses.
She does.
I'm just looking at these fighting poses where the second page, she kicks this guy way up high.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's, what do you call this, where you just put your head in the guts of somebody else? Like
tackle? I don't know.
Yeah, she gets him right in the mid.
Right. Yeah, there's no sense here that she's a useless character. Like, at least Mike Grell and Conway know how to, not Conway,
Cary Bates.
Cary Bates, writer, is a very capable character.
Yeah, she doesn't even have, Duodamsel doesn't really even have like super strength or anything. Her only power is that she goes from being one person to being two people.
Right.
And she manages to beat up two tough as nails criminal street gang dudes.
Right.
Meanwhile, Bouncing Boy, later on, he's like, used to be when I had my superpowers, I could take out these guys in my sleep. Now I don't have any superpowers. I'm just a loser. They can kick my ass.
It seems to me like he should have been able to as easily fight them as she did. But for purposes of the story, we have to have him get his ass kicked to do the soul searching and realize he can still be formidable without his powers.
Well, I wonder if they're trying to say that he's grown out of shape, because they make a comment like, skinny or fat, we recognize you as Bouncing Boy.
Right.
And so maybe like the last time we saw Bouncing Boy, was he still thin? And now he's just complacency in marriage. He's like this middle-aged tub of lard. Is that what they're trying to say?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's strange. Like, they've written him kind of inconsistently. It seems like sometimes when he hasn't had his powers, he's still been chubby. I think he was chubby before he even got his powers, like in his origin story. But we've also seen at least one story where he lost his powers and was thin. The writing makes me think he was intended to be thin here and grow through him. I mean,
oh, is that what that's supposed to mean?
Right.
I can't find the line where they point out that he looks different. Yeah, this one guy says fat or skinny. Who wouldn't recognize the roly-poly Legionnaire himself? So maybe he is supposed to be skinny.
I think that's the idea. Yeah. But I mean, this is about the weight they draw him when he's not inflated, right?
I think so, yeah.
Normally when he has his powers.
And he doesn't look skinny. So
no.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Grell didn't get the memo.
He didn't read the script. He's drawn too many pages.
Mm-hmm.
I think he drew fast, right? He probably drew 3 pages before he read the script.
You know, and a lot of the dialogue, seems like the dialogue isn't finalized until they get the artwork, right? Because it seems like a lot of times the dialogue is clarifying things that aren't clear in the drawings.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, like Marvel style, definitely there's no dialogue until they get the finished artwork or the penciled artwork.
Right.
A DC book, I don't know how they do it.
So she's not feeling too well. She says her arm hurts after the battle. So as she's drinking water, Bouncing Boy has this amazing guess, the most specific, educated guess I've ever seen. He's like, maybe one of them had a spiked ring with some kind of paralysis. It seems very, very specific. Like, he didn't see any rings.
And they show his imagination of poisoned spike ring poking her arm.
It's that panel then. I think it's my favorite one in this story.
Yeah. He's a little kind of lost in thought, and his face is a little bit blacked out and in shadow.
Right.
And I guess we don't actually learn if that's really what happened, but somehow she got exhausted.
Right.
And then the 4 more thugs are going to come and finish him off now that she's out cold.
He can't rely on his wife to do his fighting for him this time. It's all up to him.
And he's worried. He's like, we may never leave this park alive. Or he's carrying her prone body into the ricochet ball court.
Right.
Where I guess there's a game that you ricochet balls around with. That's not a billiards kind of game.
Right.
This isn't a big, like a tennis court type of thing. Dodgeball. Kind of dodgeball.
I think this is kind of clever. I mean, he's able to take them out ricocheting the balls because of his expertise of trajectories and ricochets from when he was Bouncing Boy. Not so
Right.
clever as them needing to find this device where he goes. There happens to be this place with rubber balls he could use. Seems like they could have like had him throw some household objects and say the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, they were in the park.
Right. But they have to contrive a sequence where he finds rubber balls. But I think they could have said his knowledge of trajectories and ricochets could apply. I think they could use that for anything, is what I'm saying. He's only useful if he sees rubber balls around.
Well, but not everything bounces.
You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. Everything has trajectories, everything ricochets. I think he could, maybe it would all be different, but
I think
forget
it
it.
would be funny if they were in the grocery store and got attacked with these guys, and he's out in the front in the foyer of the grocery store, and they knock over the Super Bowl machine.
Right. It's getting chased. He finds a toy store. Quick, do you have rubber balls? Where's the rubber ball section?
Right.
My only chance.
It's like, how do I save myself? I'm only here next to a sporting goods store. Well, how could this possibly help me? But he's pretty satisfied. Look at that look on his face. In what, 2, 4, 6 panel 5.
I know.
But yeah, thanks to the element of surprise and his mastery of trajectories and ricochets, he takes him out. And he somehow even manages to, like, way later, or does he just throw it at this guy? Like, the ball gets stuck at the end of the dude's knife. Like, on the last page, he threw out a bunch of balls, and they knocked out all the bad guys. And then on this page, a ball just lands on the dude's knife, as if, like, Bouncing Boy threw out 5 balls, and 4 of the balls knocked out the guys, and the 5th ball comes, like, 5 minutes later, like in a cartoon, and lands on the guy's knife.
Well, it's Duodam's. Because he says, "Where'd this come from?" And she says, "The same place this is." Kicks him in the face.
She kicks him in the face.
So then we find that she was somehow able to avoid succumbing to the drug by, it says, it's kind of silly how it's described. She says she split while her still unaffected side hadn't felt the side effects.
Doesn't make any sense.
But what would make sense as an organism, if she is supposedly evolved this way, like if somehow her body would naturally divide and leave all the poison on one side so that one half of her would live, right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, because the bodies are totally disposable, as we found out in subsequent stories, and in the one when her first body dies. It doesn't really hurt her.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a evolutionary trait, like it would have to have something to do with surviving, right? Like an animal gnawing off a limb or something.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Like, yeah, she has 3 bodies because by the time she gets to reproductive maturity or whatever, 2 of them will be dead.
Right.
Because of her environment.
One from having sex with Superboy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, Bouncing Boy regains his confidence. Somehow, Duodamsel only gets sick in one of her bodies due to poison somehow, and they take out these bikers. And then he says, some fellas are lucky enough to have a wife who would fight alongside them, but I've got a wife who can fight on both sides of me, the top and the bottom.
Let's go home and have group sex. You would think he'd be a lot fitter. But yeah, that'd be a lot of work.
It's probably because Duodamsel he's out of it for most of the time, and they're just doing their thing.
Right. Yeah, he be like
watches, I guess.
Hard work. Sounds like a lot of work. Probably be like exciting, the first 150 to 200 times. Then just turn into a job.
A job?
Oh no, I gotta have sex with 2 of you.
Yeah, couldn't you just go back to being one person for a little bit?
I was gonna say, do you think he lays on his back and inflates himself, and he's like a moonwalk for them to bounce on?
Yeah, that's probably his fetish.
Yeah,
he's like, walk on me, jump on me real hard, put on your high heels. And he's like, hey, it's Friday night. Can we play bouncy castle?
Right. You think he can just inflate certain parts of his body, or does it all have to be like in the middle of sex? Could he just start inflating himself? But then maybe it would come in, like how when you blow up if you blow up a plastic glove, the fingers kind of disappear into the glove. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
So maybe it wouldn't be advantageous.
And also, like if he's big and somebody tries to get on him, they'll be deflected and bounced away. And he could control the trajectory that they bounce away. But
she'd probably have to like strap herself to him somehow so she doesn't get bounced out of the house.
they would have to call up Starboy to sit in the corner of the room.
He likes to do that anyway, so works out.
Yep, just sit over there and be quiet and make sure nobody flies away and gets bounced too far away.
Right.
He's like, I know what to do. It's not my first rodeo.
Dude, we forgot to mention that Bureau Lad was supposed to be black.
Oh yeah, that was Jim Shooter's idea for a black character, and probably a better idea than Murray Boltinoff's idea for a black character.
I wonder if he meant. I don't remember how early he established that he was hideous underneath. Do you think maybe he had ideas of him unmasking someday and having like your big EC Comics panel where, oh, lo and behold, he's a black guy underneath?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like maybe it was meant to be more of a metaphor for a person of a different race, that he has to wear a mask and he has to hide his identity, and you all treat me as an ugly person or something like that, rather than being specifically.
You never see him and he's black. It's like Todd McFarlane likes to brag that Spawn's a black character, but is he a black character? I guess in a flashback he's a black dude, but he's a burnt dude.
Yeah, most of the time
I don't think he behaves, doesn't speak or act particularly of any one race. I don't know. Seems like a black by technicality.
Right, he's a monster, right? Like he's a I mean, I only ever read the first handful of them when I was a kid.
Same.
And it's like
same.
Yeah, like he had a wife and a kid. He lived in a place and he had a car, and then he got turned into a monster. And like you didn't get an idea of any kind of, like, you never saw his parents, his background, or anybody he knew. He just was a black guy who wore a shirt and pants and had a family, and that's it.
Right. He was, those early issues, he's such a blatant patchwork of other things. Like there's a lot of RoboCop there, like watching his family. Then he has like this ability to look like a guy, but his skin melts off like Darkman. Like at some point he's able to look human, but he's a white guy also.
I kind of remember that. Yeah. It's complicated, but this was kind of harebrained.
Yeah, I guess you'd expect the early attempts to be bad, but 1976 doesn't feel that early. It feels like they should have been making issues like this in the early 60s.
Yeah, definitely. Well, even like I looked up the Green Lantern, Green Arrow thing, with the old man getting into Green Lantern's face, like,
right.
You've helped the blue skins and the orange skins, all that stuff.
Right.
That came out in 1970.
Right.
That was 5 years before this. And like that was melodramatic, but it wasn't this dorky. You know what I mean?
Right. It was attempting at least to address more serious stuff. Yeah, this is weird. It's kind of reactionary. Fiction about uppity black people or something.
I just feel like it had to have been dictated by the editor. Like Cary Bates was like a young dude writing this stuff.
Right.
And so somebody was like, no, it has to be these elements.
Right. They have to be separatists. They have to bitch and moan about how the white man won't help them, but refuse the white man's help.
Like they're the ones with the prejudice.
Right. They've been brainwashed by hate.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
It's funny. I went into this knowing it was going to be clunky and inadvertently racist, but it's like way more racist than I expected, because of that weird backwards message.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could even, I don't know, like, somehow over there in Africa, there's an island of black people and they are isolationists. Like I could maybe handle that. And I think they do eventually explain that Marzelle is like they're people from a slave ship populated this island way back. That's not in this comic. And like, okay, that kind of would make sense. But then like just the point of view of this issue where Superboy's like, look, guys, we're trying to be nice and you're being so mean to us.
Right.
We're colorblind. We don't see all the, it's like, it sounds so tone deaf and stupid.
Yeah. And it would be more palatable if there were other black characters.
Yeah.
It's like,
or if there had ever been a black character.
it's like if you can have a black villain, but if he's the only black character in the entire story, not so great.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's the idea too at this time. They're saying like, aren't they saying like all the black people in the world moved there, or like there aren't black people anywhere else?
I don't think they actually say that in the comic.
They don't explicitly say that, but wasn't that the explanation early
that's
on?
something we got from the Wikipedia. Okay. And it's part of that quote from
Jim Shooter.
Yeah, like,
okay, so it may be apocryphal.
Yeah, it's kind of an exaggeration. Like, yes, it's accurate that we have never been shown any black people in the history of Legion comics, I guess.
Probably. But it was Bolton offsite. It does make sense because he wanted to have an explanation, an in-story explanation as to why we did not see black characters. Plus, he didn't want them introducing black characters before this story happened.
Yeah, I mean, I can
maybe
guess
it was their plan.
That can kind of add up. Like if this was supposed to be the explanation of where all the black people went in the 30th century, since for the 18 years you never saw a black person. I do think that was kind of an exaggeration by Jim Shooter that it's all the black people on the planet live on this one place and they all hate all the white people. Well, and the island has to be huge, I guess, to take all the black people from all the world. When, like, like in today's world, I don't know if we've actually gotten to the period where white people are a minority among all the races on Earth. I don't know if that's happened.
White is like a social construct, right? White is just the people who aren't othered.
For what it's worth, that was Legion Superheroes, or Superboy in the Legion 216, the first appearance of Tyroc.
Long live the Legion. I'm eagerly awaiting all the many appearances of Tyroc. This new multicultural era of the Legion, this progressive period.
I bet there are some people who are like, nah, Superboy and the Legion just got too diverse, too woke. Couldn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, they could have just made everyone tan, I guess. Instead, all the races are melded or something over time.
I don't know.
It would have been dumb too, I guess. Let's go home and have group sex.